I'm recording 2 episodes today, so you're going to see this shirt on Friday and Monday. Just a fair warning. I do have a washer. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I am your host, Tom Grossi, and today we're going to be taking a look at the 5. I was going to do a little bit less, but we'll do 5. I think top 5 fantasy players to avoid in 2019. Now, there is a good chance that one or all of these people on my list just totally show that I have no idea what I'm talking about and do very, very well. But I'm picking these guys on this list because I feel like they have so much risk coming into this season, and I wouldn't want you wonderful people, to potentially pick someone who's going to be a bust. So let's go through these 5 cats real quick. So the first one, who I've seen on numerous lists, I think it was just on NFL literally yesterday, and I'm inclined to agree with them. This was a concern even at the end of last year, and that is LA Rams running back Todd Gurley. Now, Todd Gurley, obviously for the past couple seasons, has been one of the top running backs in fantasy football. The guy is a complete and total workhorse. He is putting up all the fantasy points. He has scored 30 points on me on numerous occasions, and it hurts my soul every single time. The guy is incredibly talented. However, during the playoff run near the end of the season last year, he hurt his knee, he had some leg issues, and because of that, he was basically non-existent in the playoffs/Super Bowl. And that got people a little bit concerned of, you have Todd Gurley, who's all suited up on the sideline, why wouldn't you use them? And you also have head coach Sean McVay coming out and saying at the end of last year that they're not even going to rely on Gurley as much because they do have some guys behind him, and so it might be a little bit more of a running back by committee. I think that you're gonna see Gurley get a lot less touches this year, and so don't get me wrong, I still think Gurley is a valid fantasy option. However, in every single mock draft that I'm taking a look at, he's going in the first round. For me, that's a lot of pick to use on somebody who might not even be, like their number one guy, or is not going to be getting like the touches that a number one running back would get. And so I express a lot of caution with Todd Gurley. If he's there in the second round, I say go for it, snag him up, because I think he'll still put in a good season, but I wouldn't expect him to put up the numbers that he has been in the past 2 years. Number dos, that's 2 for our Spanish-speaking friends. And obviously I'm recording this early in the season, but the way things are going with Melvin Gordon terrify me because it looks like Le'Veon Bell all over again. I know there's a similar issue going on with Ezekiel Elliott, but I have to think that the Cowboys are going to pay him because who else do they have on their team? I'll wait. But Melvin Gordon, obviously on an LA Chargers team, he wants an extension. His agent has been very vocal that the Chargers have rumored to offer him $10 to $11 million. We did a whole video on Melvin Gordon, and he turned that down. And so he wants a new deal or he wants to be traded, and he is more than fine with sitting out this season. And so if there's no movement on this of like, oh, maybe they'll sign him because they were like, oh, Le'Veon Bell will be back by week 10 last year, and then he never came back. Yep. Thanks, Le'Veon. And so I would just express a ton of caution, and even on top of that, Melvin Gordon also does pose an injury risk. He's only played 1 full season without injury. So keep that in mind. If he falls into the second round, I might, you know what, I just wouldn't draft him. I gotta be completely honest. Unless something changes and like he signs before that last preseason game, I wouldn't do it because I would be terrified that he's gonna be a complete and total waste. So caution. Number 3, and that is former Bears running back Jordan Howard. And the reason why is because, one, Jordan Howard on the new Eagles team. They also is going to be splitting carries with Miles Sanders, and there's a lot of hype behind Sanders. I know that they just traded for Jordan Howard. And so Howard and Cohen, obviously in Chicago, are a nice 1-2, but I wouldn't put a lot of stock in Howard and his production because, again, the running, like the backfield of the Eagles has always kind of been a mess. It's always kind of been by committee for a while now. And so, yeah, I would be very, very careful if you're going after Jordan Howard. Number 4, a guy that I have drafted for the past 2 years thinking this is going to be the year he does well, and he never does, Lamar Miller. Lamar Miller, of course, the running back for the Texans. In the past 2 seasons, he's only had 8 rushing touchdowns combined and 4 TDs receiving combined. So, yeah, lots of injury. He has competition at that. They obviously just got Duke Johnson. So, yeah, I would stay away from Lamar Miller unless you are desperate for a running back because you're like, I'm going to draft every wide receiver in the first couple rounds. Lamar Miller is probably going to disappoint you just like I disappoint my father. And finally, number 5, the guy who's on the thumbnail, and people are going to be like, Tom, why are you hating on Antonio Brown? It's Antonio Brown, and there's a couple reasons why. One, obviously he has some issues with his feet right now. The guy just he just got frostbite on his foot too, so that's a big no-no. But he's dealing with some foot issues. You even saw that on Hard Knocks. But I think it's also concerning that he's going to obviously most likely go in the first round, and it's pretty much a downgrade from Ben Roethlisberger to Derek Carr. And so he's in a brand new offense. I'm sure Derek Carr is literally just going to toss the ball up to him and be like, go get it, tall man. But I would have some hesitation picking him as my first round pick. If he falls into the second, sure, I think there's more value there. But again, a lot of these guys, except Lamar Miller and Jordan Howard, are first round picks. So I would just express caution. If someone else is there in that spot and you can snag them, do that. Do that. Or try to trade them and rip them off, because that's what makes friendships, ripping them off on a foundation of lies. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Or you're like, Tom, this is crazy. This is a terrible list. You know what you're talking about. You're garbage. And I will remind you that last year in one of my leagues, I went undefeated. That's right, undefeated. And I won like $70 whole. So put it on my resume. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or Tom Grossi Comedy on all the social media you see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, and the Spotify. And you can do all that stuff. And a big shout out to all my patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy. We're basically going to be doing 5 days a week for a while. So strap in and put your jock straps on, because it's going to be a stinky ride. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. Have a great weekend. And as always, go Pack Go.